Okay, so everybody, welcome to the Nutritional Support for Anxiety and Depression webinar. Oops. I'm Cara Janzen, and I am the owner of Radical Nutrition. That's my nutrition company, and I love talking about these two topics because I think that they're very misrepresented in our community, and I think that there's awesome ways that we can support people with these kinds of situations in their life. So what is anxiety? When we are talking about what anxiety is, according to the American Psychiatric Association, or the DSM-5, they classify it as just a normal reaction to stress. And it can be beneficial at times in our life to have a reaction to stressors in our life, like it alerts us to danger, or it tells us that there's something that we need to prepare for. So say you have normal feelings of nervousness and anxiousness when you're going to do this webinar, for example. That's short-term and normal, but anxiety that the APA decides that is classified as anxiety is when it's excessive fear or excessive anxiousness that persists longer than 1 to 2 months. And it's one of the most common mental health disorders. Like 30% of adults will experience like a bout of extreme anxiety throughout their life. And luckily it is treatable with and without medicine. And so then what is different types of anxiety disorders that we can classify are things like generalized anxiety disorders, panic disorders, different phobias or specific phobias, agoraphobia, social anxiety, separation anxiety, people who experience different related conditions like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, acute stress disorder, OCD, adjustment disorder. They're all things that are associated with an excessive amount of anxiety in your life. And what does the Canadian Mental Health Association classify anxiety? They say it's a mental illness, and they also list all of the same associated disorders under the umbrella of anxiety. Okay, so what about depression? According to the American Psychiatric Society, they classify it as a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel and the way that you think and how you act. Again, luckily it is treatable with and without medicine. And feelings of sadness and or loss of interest and enjoyment and activity in your life that you did once enjoy. And it can lead to a variety of different emotions and physical problems. And essentially it just decreases your ability to function and work at home and at work. Okay. So what are some common symptoms of depression? You can have like chronic feelings of sadness, or just a depressed or low mood, loss of interest in the things that you once enjoyed. You have changes in your appetite. You can either gain weight or you can lose weight. You have trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. You have loss of energy or just extreme fatigue. Things like an increase in purposeless activities. So pacing, fidgeting, slow movements or speech. You have feelings of worthlessness or guiltiness. You start having concentration problems, making decision problems, and thoughts of death or suicide in extreme cases. So what else can be associated with things like depression? You have different conditions like peri and postpartum depression, seasonal affect disorder, persistent depressive disorders, premenstrual dysmorphic disorders, disruptive mood dysregulation disorders, bipolar disorders. And again, all of these underlying issues like thyroid issues or brain tumors or nutrient deficiencies can all mimic depression in people's lives. So what are they not? They're not a disease. They're actually a symptom of something going on in your body, which is one of the things that I find the most compelling to spread the information about, is that people are not now people should not be labeled with this disease of depression or anxiety when there's something underlying going on that is causing the extreme anxiousness, or they're causing the extreme depleted energy and mood and excitement for life. So what else is going on, and how do we help restore people's optimal health. So what can lead to anxiety and depression showing up in your body? Toxicity, for one. Our environment is hugely toxic. So there's over 27 million new toxins that have entered into our environment that were never there before. So we're just inundated with the amount of like chemicals and pesticides and foreign substances in our food that now our body doesn't know how to do anything with, that doesn't know how to get rid of, it doesn't know how to detoxify, it doesn't know how to neutralize so that it doesn't harm us. Our food source is extremely nutrient deficient nowadays, which is making it easier and easier for us to just get sick because we don't have the same amount of nutrients coming in, the same amount of vitamins and minerals coming in. Heavy metals, our whole lives have been just surrounded now with the amount of metal and aluminum and cadmium and mercury that it's really hard to avoid and get rid of and completely eliminate all of the heavy metals. Same with toxicity and same with the poor quality food. And it's just one of those things that is going to be causing a disruption of hormone balances in your body and an overworked liver and kidneys to eliminate things that your body just doesn't know how to do anymore. There's the extreme nutrient deficiencies or inadequate protein intake. If you don't have the amino acids coming in that your body needs in order to build the building blocks for your neurotransmitters and your hormones, your mood and nervousness will skyrocket. If you don't have the appropriate minerals for your metabolism to function, things like anxiety and depression will show up, different vitamins. Our EPA and DHA, so our amazing essential fatty acids, lubricate our nervous system and make all of the flow in our body awesomely function well. And so if you're deficient in those, then your nervous system and your brain health will be affected. Certain lifestyle factors and situations can cause people to go through bouts of anxiety and depression. Different underlying illnesses. So remember those associated disorders that I mentioned with depression, things like thyroid issues or brain tumors can all lead to anxiety and depression or symptoms like it. Anything that can cause chronic stress in our lives can just deplete our mood and our enthusiasm for activities. Chronic inflammation. If your body is under chronic inflammation and chronic stress, to get rid of the inflammation that is taking place, then it's doing extra work, and that's more work on processes that aren't building up our health and building up our bones and our blood and our muscles, and it's taking away the energy where it could be doing more productive and optimal functioning. So our thoughts and behaviors and our beliefs. One of the biggest things that I have learned is that this whole health is a lot of a mind game. So it's how you talk to yourself, how you self-talk. The things that you would say to yourself, you would never say to somebody else. And the way that you encourage other people, you need to start encouraging yourself that way. And it just changes your whole perception and your whole outlook. And that lifts your spirit, and that brings your whole demeanor up. Your thoughts and your beliefs definitely hold where your cell health resides. Some of the key contributors and the thought leaders in this area that I have learned a great deal amount from just by like researching them, listening to their talks, are these doctors. And there's so many other ones that if you just decided to go pick up a book, you would find somebody that is super intelligent about these topics and how to support us nutritionally and lifestyle-wise. That doesn't include the medical settings or medicinal or medicine, I guess. So these people are amazing people to look into if you want more information. Okay, so what can we do nutritionally to help individuals going through anxiety and depression? One of the main things is to replace what you're eating with complex carbohydrates. They metabolize a lot slower, which helps to maintain your even blood sugar, which creates a calmer feeling. We know that blood sugar dysregulation can lead to a lot of mood swings, and chronic blood sugar dysregulation can have profound effects on our mood for a long-term a long-term impact. So having the slower metabolized foods really helps to maintain level blood sugar levels. A diet rich in like whole grains and vegetables and fruit is a healthier option than any simple carbohydrate or processed food. So that's just a very general statement, but it really helps to supply as many nutrients and vitamins and minerals that your body needs in order to function optimally. And so when you eat, what you eat, when you eat, is very important. Don't skip meals, and that means 3 meals a day. By doing so, it may result in the blood drop that may cause you to feel jittery when you have that stretch of hours between meals. And that can worsen your anxiety, but your body has this amazing ability to adapt quickly if you retrain it to eat 3 meals a day. And that helps to restabilize how your pancreas secretes insulin and how your body uses the nutrients when it gets them, and then does the rest and repair in those 5 hours in between. And the other aspect is the gut-brain axis is essential. So a large percentage of our serotonin, we know, is created in our gut. And so supplying foods and nutrients that heal our gut and support our gut health and bacteria health is really important for just making that happy neurotransmitter. Research is examining and finding amazing potential for probiotic use in helping to alleviate anxiety and depression symptoms in individuals. So one of the biggest things that people can do is to just detox or to simplify the foods that you're eating and eliminate the culprits. Some of the biggest underlying causes are things like allergies and sensitivities to foods. And some of the main ones that are causing more of the brain disruptions are things like wheat and soy and dairy that cause a lot of issues. Even if you don't have a gut issue to them, the brain is being affected. So just taking out those foods, you would see an amazing result even within 3 weeks of just eliminating those simple foods and just replacing them with good quality whole foods that are nutrient dense. So even going through a detox, if you are not properly eliminating, so if you don't have a good bowel movement, don't detox. You have to be able to eliminate at the bottleneck of our system. If you are backed up, if you're constipated at all of the nutrients, all of the toxins, all of the substances in your body that you're trying to detox from will just simply be reabsorbed or just stuck, and you'll feel worse, you'll feel heavy and bloated. So just making sure if you're ever going to start a detox or simplifying foods or cutting anything out, make sure that you're having a great bowel movement. Drink loads of water, filtered water, reverse osmosis water. Our water quality is extremely poor again. And so getting good quality filtered water that doesn't have any of the chlorine, doesn't have any of the fluoride, doesn't have any of the heavy metals or toxins, can help to just cleanse the body, lubricate the body, and just flush things out. One of the other issues with our water is that a lot of the pills that people are taking are going through our water system and getting into our water system. And so you might not be taking a statin drug, but it might not be in your water source. So if you're not filtering your water, you might still be getting something that could be harming your body. So it's very important to get good, clean water. So limit and eliminate stimulants, and that's coffee, tea, caffeine, cigarettes, pop. All those kinds of stimulants are exasperating the symptoms of anxiety and depression in people's bodies, and it just overactivates our sympathetic nervous system, where it's creating cortisol in the body, and that's then creating chronic inflammation. So this also helps with reducing and eliminating cravings. Just by eliminating the poor quality foods and replacing it with high density, like good nutrient foods, that will take away some of the cravings that you have. And again, your body has phenomenal ability to restore and adapt to what you're doing. So if you are doing the 3 meals a day and they are high density nutrient foods, you won't be craving and feeling like you lack something and needing something to replace it. So some really important key nutrients that have shown great results in relieving some anxiety and depression are things like magnesium. It's a pretty significant nutrient, and it helps with all of the metabolic functions. It helps with muscle relaxing. It helps with just supplying the brain with good quality relaxing nutrients. So things like spinach and Swiss chard, legumes, nuts and seeds, and whole grains are really good sources of magnesium. Zinc, again, is an amazing essential nutrient that your body needs for a lot of processes, and even supporting the inflammation, anti-inflammatories in the body. So things like oysters and cashews, livers, beef, and egg yolks, particularly if the egg yolk is liquidy. So overcooking your eggs can also kill a lot of the nutrients. So you get your omega-3s, your essential fatty acid foods are phenomenal for just lubricating the brain and the nervous system and keeping the flow and the good quality fats in the brain. And it also helps with like your cellular health and your gut health as well. So things like fish, salmon, nuts and seeds, grass-fed butter, olive oil, flaxseed, coconut oil, and avocados. So your fermented foods. A lot of your fermented foods have some amazing probiotics. If you don't want to be taking a supplement all the time, then just make sure that you're eating fermented foods at each meal, or drinking your fermented kombucha. When you think bees and brains, they go together. All of your B vitamins are essential for your brain health, your energy health, your metabolism health. Some of the nutrient deficiencies that have been linked to anxiety and depression are deficiencies in B vitamins. And unfortunately, we don't store them in our body. We have to take them in. So if you continue to have a flow of B vitamins in your body that is supplying your brain with essential nutrients, they are a water-soluble vitamin, and they are depleted very quickly under stress. So individuals experiencing anxiety and depression tend to have elevated levels of stress. So they need higher levels of B. So things like avocados and almonds and nutritional yeast is phenomenal. And a lot of your veggies have a lot of your B vitamins. So some of your high antioxidant foods and your fats are things like your greens. So they contain a lot of phytonutrients that just supply amazing nutrients to help heal the body and restore health to the body. They have some polyphenols, and they work synergistically together. So they're not just individual nutrients. A lot of nutrients require other nutrients in order to function properly in the body. And if you take them in isolation, then they might not work as well on their own. So having vitamins like high magnesium and folate and other that are generally deficient in people experiencing anxiety and depression. So your greens are an amazing source and should be like your first go-to when you have any bouts of anxiety or depression in your life. Things like beans and lentils are loaded with fiber and minerals and amino acids and readily available and absorbable amino acids. So things like, so these foods have the second meal effect, which basically means that they take a long time to digest, and they slow the sugar into the bloodstream from your stomach and your intestines. So it really helps to regulate your blood sugar levels. And they also provide fiber, which helps to really pull out the nutrient or the toxins in your system and help with bowel movements. Sorry, I'm just going to take a drink. Okay. So then we have things like berries, and we know the amazing benefit of eating loads of berries. So they're anti-inflammatory in there. The darker the berries, the better. They have polyphenols, which are also super for brain healing, and they're low glycemic, so they're not going to impact our blood sugar like some other fruits who are higher in sugar. Your cruciferous vegetables have some amazing brain healing nutrients and qualities, especially for the arteries in the brain. And the arteries in the brain are what bring the nutrients to the brain. So you want to have as many of those cruciferous vegetables as you can to keep the brain loaded with nutrient blood. So then you have your agent grains that are loaded with vitamins and fiber. So like things like quinoa and kumat are awesome additions. And essentially, it comes down to a plant-based diet is the more important part of the Mediterranean-style diet that is touted to be one of the healthier lifestyles for anxiety and depression, essentially because it is higher in your good fats, antioxidants, and plant-based proteins that are easily absorbed and broken down. So we all know the turmeric is an amazing anti-inflammatory, and it has some amazing impacts on the body overall. It's one of the ones that is indicated for helping to support anxiety and depression, and same with ginger. So just some supplementation information, especially when you're detoxing. So when you're looking for supplements for detoxing specifically, look for the ones that are carbon, bound to carbon. So they have a stronger bond. So they are better at removing heavy metals from the body. Or your sulfur bound supplements are ionic bonds, and they are just not as strong at removing heavy metals from the body. And that's just a key. So if you're ever looking at the ingredient label or looking into the company, that's just a tip to look into. So essentially, vitamin C, E, zinc, and selenium, A is included in there. So they're your anti-inflammatory vitamins. And there's a lot of studies that are showing that even like high-dose vitamin C is very therapeutic for anxiety and depression. Same with high-dose vitamin or B3, your niacin. There's been some clinical trials and showing that high-dose B3 has seriously alleviated anxiety and depression symptoms in individuals. Probiotics are, like I said, an amazing addition to people's routine. They have awesome abilities to help repopulate our bacteria in our gut, and our gut health, we know, has a huge connection to our brain health. So whatever we can do to support our gut health will definitely benefit in our mental capacities. So magnesium and taurine, CoQ10 and zinc are all phenomenal additions to have for supporting energy and brain health and oxygenation and flow of our blood through our body into our brains. Antioxidants, CoQ10 is also a very amazing antioxidant that we can take. Adaptogens. So adaptogens are herbs or tonics that they cause our body to adapt. So they either upregulate the hormones that need to be upregulated or downregulate the ones that are too high. And so they don't cause toxicities or overloads. They are gentle enough to modify what is happening in our body. So things like medicinal mushrooms, like reishi, has an amazing adaptogenic ability, especially under stress. Some other adaptogens are things like ashwagandha or schizandra that have an amazing adaptability to different stress levels and hormonal levels in our body. Herbs like passion flower or valerian or kava kava are things that are indicated for anti-anxiolytics, and they're just herbs or homeopathics that you can get, but I would always recommend that you talk to somebody who knows dosages and usage of those before you go and use. So just an example of things that people can do as a 3-day diet or a meal plan, suffering from anxiety or depression. Things like day 1, you could have mushrooms, which the higher protein mushrooms like your reishi, your shiitake, your portobellos, your oyster mushrooms or king mushrooms. Those on like sourdough with avocado and berries, or an apple on the side. So the mushrooms, one key is to put the mushrooms in the sun for an hour. That helps to boost the vitamin D level phenomenally. And you don't normally see mushrooms outside of the fridge section, but if you just let them come to room temperature in the sun, that boosts their vitamin D level a lot. So vitamin D and protein and amino acids and an easy to absorb one, that's an awesome breakfast that you can try. Eggs, soft-boiled or over easy, where you still have the runny egg yolk, you're going to get the choline, which is brain health. You're going to get the bioavailable amino acids out of the liquidy egg yolk. Throw that some spinach and some more mushrooms and onions and garlic. You have an amazing quick breakfast. Things like Greek yogurt. If you do not have the issue with the dairy, or if you are going to eliminate the dairy, then this might not be a good meal option, but there is alternatives to dairy yogurts that you could try, and then just throwing some berry nuts and seeds, which is a great way to get your fats and your proteins and amino acids. You have salads, typical lunch, but you don't have to always have just the romaine. Like throw some like hearty lettuces in there, like the Boston lettuces, or some dandelion, which would be amazing for detoxing and helping the liver. 5 different vegetables. So as long as you're getting 5 different vegetables in your salads, you're getting a great array of vitamins and minerals. Nuts and seeds are great options in salads, especially if you're working, because then you don't have to worry about the proteins, like a chicken or whatever going bad. And then Greek salads with chickpeas. Chickpeas are a great option because you can roast them and just throw them on any kind of salad. And then salmons for dinner, or chicken pad thai, or beef ginger stir fry. So it is not boring food. It is a variety of flavors and mixtures and just ways of getting high density vitamins, minerals, fats, and easily absorbable proteins. Okay, so what are some lifestyle things that we can do for people or suggest that people do to help alleviate some of the anxiety and depression? Sun exposure is key. We know that this is something that has been said for years, like increase your sun exposure, that'll get your vitamin D, but it's just also a boosting and a lifting experience for people to just get out in the sun. Neuroplasticity, essentially that means to keep your brain active, and that's more than just Sudoku. That's like doing something new, learning a new task. So if I've never played the piano, I now have to engage my physical movement of my fingers. I have to learn how to read musical notes. I have to listen to how the sounds of the keyboard move. So that's integrating multiple modalities of learning, and that's what keeps your brain moving and flowing and fluid, which is the whole premise of neuroplasticity. That idea keeps excitement and new adventure into people's lives, and can help to lift different anxiety, depression, moods, and states in people. Counseling is a total awesome option for people. The cognitive behavioral therapy, just changing one behavior at a time, changing one thought at a time, changing one self-sabotaging idea at a time, can take you one step closer to being anxiety and depression free. Essential oils are a phenomenal way that you can use something practical in the immediate time that you're having a anxiety attack or a low mood. Lavender is essentially the king of oils, and it has an extreme relaxing ability in your body. And so if you're having that anxiety attack where you're over pumping, you can put it on your skin, you can inhale it. It's an awesome way to just slow down. And other ones that you can use that are anti-anxiolytic and calming are things like Roman chamomile, neroli, angelica, petitgrain, sweet orange and orange, bergamot. Even bergamot in some Earl Grey teas is a way to help calm the system. Basil, sweet marjoram, geranium, patchouli, and valerian. So some other now, some amazing new research is coming out in a lot of things like meditation and gratitude and spiritual practices, and how that changes our neural pathways and how that changes the way that our body functions. So even just meditating 5 minutes a day in the morning when you wake up, and just refocusing your perspective in your mind on what you want to achieve that day, who you are, and who you're, and not focusing on who you're not. You don't want the negative. You want to focus on, this is who I am today. I am a positive, I am excited, I am strong. Like rephrasing the way that your body, your beliefs and your body will then interpret those beliefs. Practicing gratitude is is also shown to boost people and have a long-term sustaining effect on anxiety and depression. Spiritual practices, just having a connection with that higher self or God helps to give you purpose and give you a self-worth that isn't in something in our world, which is easily taken away, but it gives you something, a solid footing and something that is bigger than yourself. Connection and community has been huge. It gives you that ability to reach out to people. It takes your focus off yourself and onto other people. A connection we've lost now because of our high technology world, and that brings us into like communicating and reaching out to people. And so having connection with people, physical, real connection, just overall reprograms the body to function optimally and changes the negative environment in the body to a positive environment where your healthy cells thrive. Exercising is a phenomenal way to boost natural endorphins in the brain. Sweating out the toxins and going into saunas, and the hot cold therapy helps to shoot the blood and carry the blood from like the core to the legs and arms, carrying all of the negative nutrients away and flushing them out. Okay. So some additional resources that I just think were super cool. This is just some of them. There's a huge list of books. So learned optimism is a way that influences every area of your life, including your immune function. The book I Quit Sugar, she had suffered from anxiety and depression, and how she changed her diet and lifestyle and got rid of all types of sugars in her body and is now symptom free. And so she wrote a book about it, and she has a cookbook also. How the Body Keeps Score is an awesome way. And I didn't really touch on this, but our body has storage mechanisms on how we store trauma in our life. And it remembers that. And so you need to detox from different traumas in your life. And this book was really cool and super helpful about how to go through the process of trauma release. And the other thing I didn't really mention, but this was also a really super cool one, is Your Brain on Parasites. So it's a book about invasive creatures, so parasites that can alter your brain, your behavior, your outlook. It can change your cognitive functions. So it affects your digestive system, it affects your gut health. So parasites are one of those huge associated conditions in a body that can lead to anxiety and depression in individuals because it's taking and sucking the life out of you. Yeah, so that's everything. It was a very quick high overlook about what we can do, but if there's any more questions or any more information that you ever want, this is my information, and I'd be more than happy to talk. I'm going to unmute everybody somehow.